On the 4th of April 2019, venue manager Darren Hickey was offered a fish cake by a chef at his place of work. Darren managed weddings and other events at Ridgemont House, a small manor house near Manchester in England. In this role, it was quite normal and indeed part of his job to sample menu items that might be offered to guests. Darren thought nothing of trying the appetizer he was offered, but within 24 hours the decision to take a bite of that fish cake would result in his sudden and premature death. A fish cake is, usually, a portion of shredded fish and potato, coated in batter or breadcrumbs and then deep fried. This results in a crispy outer coating with a soft interior, a combination that makes them ideal as appetizers or as finger food to be served at a wedding or party. The particular fish cake Darren was offered had been prepared just moments ago. The outside had cooled enough that it could be handled, but the inside was still piping hot. As soon as Darren took a bite and swallowed, he knew that something was wrong. The interior of the cake was far hotter than he'd expected, and he felt as though he had burned his throat. Darren did his best to ignore the pain. He drank some water and went about his day, but the pain did not subside. That afternoon he visited the nearby Chorley Hospital, where he was seen after a short wait. An examination of his mouth and throat showed nothing amiss, and he was sent home with paracetamol and instructions to return if the pain worsened. Returning home, Darren spent the evening resting, until at 9:45 p.m. he was discovered by his partner, 55-year-old Neil Parkinson, apparently choking. Neil gave first aid and called for an ambulance. Darren was rushed back to hospital where, despite the best efforts of doctors, he passed away just after midnight. Post-mortem examination revealed a sequence of events. The piping hot fish cake Darren had sampled had indeed burned his throat. In fact, it had caused burns so severe that a pathologist likened them to injuries seen in people who inhale smoke during house fires. However, these burns had been relatively far down his throat, and thus had not been observed when he was examined after presenting himself to hospital. Burns like those Darren suffered as a result of hot food are extremely unusual and extremely rare, and this, combined with the lack of any observable injury, led to the hospital staff discharging him without further treatment, and his ultimate death. Darren was remembered as a positive and caring person, a determined individual who did an immense amount of work for charity in addition to his work duties. With remarkable resilience, he had survived and recovered from a catastrophic stroke 7 years prior to the loss of his life in a bizarre, food-related accident. In 2019, 19-year-old Australian Sam Ballard was sitting outside on the concrete patio of a friend's house, drinking wine and talking with several of his peers. The group knew each other well, and it was a relaxed evening, which took a turn when they noticed a slug crawling across the floor of the patio. As a joke, the group discussed the slug. "Should I eat it?" said Sam. It was intended as a joke or dare. Not something he inherently wanted to do, but something which the group would find amusing. After a few moments of discussion and laughter, Sam did as he had suggested and ate the slug. The rest of that evening passed without incident, and the group parted ways. In the days that followed, though, Sam began to experience a series of strange symptoms. He was overcome by dizzy spells and vomiting, and felt severe, unexplained pains in his legs. Sam told his mother about eating the slug, but she reasoned that this could not be the cause of his symptoms. "No one gets sick from that," she said. But as his condition worsened and no other explanation presented itself, Sam was admitted to hospital. Within days, he had fallen into a coma from which he would not emerge for 420 days. During this time, doctors were able to better understand what had gone wrong. The slug which Sam had eaten had been infested with a parasite known as rat lungworm. This parasite is most often found in rodents, but can be passed to slugs and snails if these consume rodent excrement. If infested slugs or snails are then consumed by humans, the parasites can survive and work their way into the liver, lungs, and nervous system. They may move to the brain, the spine, or the eye, and once there, they can cause severe inflammation, resulting in serious illness and incapacitation. Some people exposed to rat lungworm are lucky. The parasites die or pass through their system, causing only mild illness. Others, like Sam, experience extreme and debilitating illness as a result of the infection. Sam awoke from his coma more than a year after he'd entered it and found himself completely paralyzed. He was unable to move his limbs or eat without an assistive tube. These devastating injuries aside, though, he remained the same person he'd ever been. With time, he was able to steer a motorized wheelchair and engage in limited communication. He nonetheless required constant care and was limited in what he was able to do. The friends with whom Sam had been drinking that night apologized for not stopping him from eating the slug. Sam forgave them. The group remained friends and regularly spent time together. Though Sam could not participate in the activities that had once bonded them, it never occurred to them to abandon him. One reporter who was close to the case said of the group, "I have rarely met a finer group of young men. They made a mistake, a spur-of-the-moment muck-around of unforeseen consequences that should not define them. And their love and support for Sam has never wavered in the years since." Sam was a valued and central part of their friendship group until, in 2018, he passed away from complications following an infection. He died surrounded by friends and family at the age of 28, killed by the long consequences of a momentary mistake made almost a decade earlier. On the 5th of October 2012, a reptile store in the city of Deerfield Beach in Florida held an unusual competition. Anyone could enter, and the prize on offer was a valuable ball python snake, worth in excess of $800. To take the grand prize, contestants would simply have to eat as many cockroaches as they could within a set time limit. Cockroaches and other insects, although not generally considered palatable, are edible. Indeed, by some standards, edible insects have much to recommend them. They are an excellent source of protein and can be farmed with relatively little environmental impact. For this reason, they are considered by some to be an excellent, if unconventional, food. The cockroaches to be eaten during this competition had been raised specifically for it in an environment free of pathogens. They were, according to the store owner, safe to eat. Several contestants volunteered for the contest. Among them was 32-year-old Edward Archbold, a father of two who worked at a company that sold boat accessories. He told his girlfriend that he had entered the competition just a few hours before it was due to take place and appeared unfazed by the task at hand. It was, he said, not a big deal. He did not even wish to keep the prize, but would give it to a snake-loving friend if he prevailed. From the start of the contest, Edward was a crowd favourite. He was, many spectators later said, the most engaging and entertaining contestant, the life of the party. When contestants were given 4 minutes to eat as many cockroaches as possible, Edward won by a clear margin, using a technique that involved filling his mouth with cockroaches and washing them down with water. He appeared delighted to have won, but left the shop before he could be presented with the prize. Minutes later, he was found vomiting and choking outside. An ambulance was called and he was rushed to hospital, but passed away shortly thereafter. In the immediate aftermath of his death, the cause was unknown. It was speculated that the cockroaches he consumed might have been contaminated, or that he might have had an allergy to cockroaches that he was previously unaware of. Following medical examination, though, no sign of an infection or allergic reaction was found. It appeared that he had vomited and then choked on the undigested cockroaches. Contestants had all signed an extensive waiver before participating in the competition, and no charges were ultimately brought against the organiser. Edward was survived by his girlfriend and 2 children. The snake that he had won in the competition was awarded to him posthumously, and became part of his estate.